Hi. In this video, we are focusing on negative externalities of production, and that means when firms produce a good, they create external costs, costs that are imposed on third parties, and the key result from this is that the free market will produce too much of the good compared to what is best for society. And today, I will use one example all the way through. A chemical factory producing industrial chemicals, and as it produces, it releases waste into a river, while that river is used by local residents for recreation, fisheries, and potentially as a water source. So pollution creates harm outside the market. Let's first identify all the costs involved. The factory has private costs, including labor wages, raw materials, machinery, electricity, and those are paid by the factory. But there are also external costs like fish dying, local people getting ill, damage to wildlife, higher cleanup costs for government, and a loss of income for fishermen. Those costs are not paid by the factory directly. They fall on others. So the firm ignores them when deciding output. Now, let's draw the diagram. On the vertical axis, I put cost, benefit, and price measured in monetary value, and on the horizontal axis, I put quantities of chemicals produced. Now, in the diagram, we draw a downward sloping demand curve, and we label it as consumers' marginal private benefit, which is also marginal social benefit in this case, as there is no externalities arising from consumption. And then we draw an upward sloping supply curve and label it as firm's marginal private costs. And then we draw a marginal social cost curve above marginal private cost. Marginal social cost is above marginal private cost in this case because it is the sum of marginal private cost and marginal external cost. And marginal external cost here is the pollution harm, which is positive external cost. And the vertical distance between the two marginal cost curves, marginal social cost and marginal private cost, is the marginal external cost per unit. Now, let's mark the market equilibrium first. It happens at the intersection between marginal private cost and marginal private benefit. At this point here, at a transaction quantity, which I label as QM. Now, let's mark the socially optimal output, which happens at the intersection between marginal social cost and marginal social benefit at this point here at a quantity which I label as QS. Notice that QM is greater than QS. So the society actually wants less production than what's being produced in the market. And that means there has been overproduction in the market. And why? Because firms don't pay the full cost of pollution. And now let's find the area of debt we lost, which is a loss of total welfare that nobody receives, so it's just a wasted value. Or it can be perceived as a value of good things that could have happened but don't happen because resources are allocated badly. In this case, from QS to QM, we are producing chemicals where the benefit to society is lower than the cost to society. The benefit to society in between these two quantities can be shown as the area underneath the marginal social benefit curve, while the costs to society in between these two quantities can be shown as the area underneath the marginal social cost curve. And the difference between the two is the area of dead weight loss, which I denote as area A. So if we insist on overproducing beyond QS units to QM units, we are imposing a net loss on society that is equivalent to this area A. Or we can see this alternatively as if we are determined to reduce our production quantity from QM towards socially efficient quantity QS, we can actually gain an welfare area that is equivalent to area A, but we didn't. So area A represent the potential gain that we could have reaped, but we didn't because we have overproduced in the market. Well, in the next video, we will be learning negative externalities of consumption.